Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something that many people struggle to understand about relationships and about life. Sometimes the most powerful move you can make after someone hurts you, leaves you, or shows you they don't value you is to act like they were never a part of your life. Now, I know that sounds cold to some people. I know some folks hear that and think it means you never care, but that's not what it means at all. What it means is that you finally decided to care about yourself more than the pain that person left behind. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most powerful things a person can learn in life is the art of emotional detachment. Now, a lot of people misunderstand that word. When they hear detachment, they think it means you stop caring. They think it means you become cold, bitter, or heartless. But that's not what real emotional detachment is about. Emotional detachment is about protecting your peace when someone else refuses to protect your heart. It's about realizing that your value does not depend on someone's ability to recognize it. Too many people give others control over their emotions without even realizing it. One person walks away, one relationship ends, and suddenly your entire world feels like it's falling apart. Your mood depends on whether they call. Your happiness depends on whether they text back. Your confidence depends on whether they choose you or ignore you. And the problem with that is simple. When you give someone that much power over your emotions, you lose control of your own life. You see, when someone leaves your life or treats you like you don't matter, the natural reaction is pain. That's human. It hurts when someone you cared about walks away. It hurts when someone you trusted shows you they weren't who you thought they were. But the real danger isn't the pain. The real danger is staying stuck in that pain for months or even years because you refuse to let go emotionally. A lot of people keep themselves tied to someone who is no longer present. They replay old conversations in their mind. They keep looking at pictures. They keep wondering what the other person is doing and whether they are happier without them. They hold on to memories like they're proof that the relationship still exists somewhere. But the truth is, memories are not relationships. Memories are just reminders of something that once was. Emotional detachment is the moment you finally understand that your life cannot stop just because someone walked away. It's the moment you stop begging for explanations. It's the moment you stop chasing someone who already decided to leave. Because when someone truly wants to be in your life, you won't have to convince them. You won't have to constantly prove your worth. They'll choose you freely and consistently. The problem many people face is that they attach their identity to a relationship. They start believing that without that person, they are incomplete. They start believing that the relationship defines their happiness. But no relation should ever have that kind of control over your sense of self. You were a whole person before that person came into your life, and you will still be a whole person after they leave. Emotional detachment restores something that many people lose in relationships: personal power. When you detach emotionally from someone who no longer values you, you stop allowing their actions to control your feelings. You stop waking up every day wondering what they think about you. You stop measuring your worth based on their attention. And let me tell you something important about human nature. People often respect what they cannot control. When someone sees that their absence no longer breaks you, when they see that your life continues without them, when they realize that you are not chasing them or begging them to stay, something shifts. Suddenly they understand that you were stronger than they expected. But the truth is, emotional detachment is not about proving anything to them. It's about freeing yourself because carrying emotional attachment to someone who has already moved on is like carrying a heavy weight every single day. It drains your energy. It steals your peace. It blocks new opportunities and new relationships from entering your life. When you detach emotionally, you begin to redirect that energy back into yourself. You start focusing on your goals, your growth, your happiness. You start rebuilding the confidence that may have been damaged by the relationship. And little by little, you begin to feel lighter. The memories stop hurting as much. The questions stop haunting you. At first, emotional detachment feels difficult because the heart is used to holding on. The heart wants answers. The heart wants closure. But real strength comes when you realize that closure does not always come from the other person. Sometimes closure comes from your own decision to stop holding on to someone who let go of you. You make a choice that your peace is more valuable than your attachment to the past. You decide that your future deserves your attention more than your memories do. And that decision changes everything. Because once you reclaim your emotional power, something incredible happens. You stop reacting to everything that reminds you of them. You stop feeling broken by their absence. You stop giving them the ability to affect your mood or your confidence. Instead, you begin to build a life that is centered around your own purpose and happiness. You rediscover parts of yourself that may have been lost in the relationship. Your laughter comes back. Your confidence grows stronger. Your perspective becomes clearer. And one day you wake up and realize something amazing. The person who once had so much emotional power over you no longer controls your feelings. Their absence no longer defines your day. Their choices no longer determine your worth. That is the true power of emotional detachment. It's not about pretending the relationship never mattered. It's about understanding that your life matters more. It's about realizing that your peace, your dignity, and your future should never be sacrificed for someone who couldn't see your value. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most powerful things a person can develop in life is self-respect. Self-respect is the foundation of every healthy relationship you will ever have. Without it, you will constantly find yourself chasing people, trying to prove your worth, trying to convince someone that you deserve to be loved. But when you truly understand your value, something inside you changes. You stop begging for attention and you start attracting respect. You see, many people make the mistake of believing that love is about sacrifice in the wrong way. They think loving someone means tolerating disrespect, accepting neglect, or staying silent when they are treated poorly. They convince themselves that if they just try harder, if they give more, if they wait longer, the other person will finally recognize their value. But love that requires you to lose your dignity. Is not love. It is emotional dependency. Self-respect begins with a simple understanding. You are worthy of love that is consistent, genuine, and respectful. Your value does not change depending on how someone treats you. If someone fails to appreciate you, that does not mean you are not valuable. It simply means they lack the ability to recognize what they had. A lot of people stay in situations where they are constantly overlooked. They stay with someone who gives them the bare minimum. They accept excuses instead of effort. They accept confusion instead of commitment. And the reason many people tolerate this behavior is because deep down, they fear losing a person more than they value themselves. But the moment self-respect enters your life, that fear begins to disappear. When you truly respect yourself, you understand that being alone is far better than being in a relationship where you are not valued. You realize that loneliness is temporary, but living without dignity slowly destroys your confidence and happiness. Self-respect teaches you to set boundaries. And boundaries are something many people struggle with because they think boundaries push people away. In reality, boundaries protect you from people who never intended to respect you in the first place. When you set boundaries, you are simply telling the world how you expect to be treated. Now here is something important about human nature. People observe how you treat yourself. If you constantly tolerate disrespect, people assume that behavior is acceptable. If you allow someone to walk in and out of your life whenever they choose, they will continue doing exactly that. But when you stand firm in your standards, when you show that your time and energy are valuable, people begin to treat you differently. Self-respect does something powerful. It changes the energy you bring into relationships. Instead of approaching love from a place of desperation or fear, you approach it from a place of confidence and stability. You are no longer trying to convince someone to choose you. You are simply offering your presence to someone who is capable of appreciating it. And that kind of energy is incredibly attractive. Confidence built on self-respect draws the right people into your life. People who are emotionally mature, people who understand commitment, people who recognize the value of mutual respect, because healthy individuals are naturally drawn to others who carry themselves with dignity. You see, people who lack self-respect often attract relationships that reflect that insecurity. They attract partners who take advantage of their kindness. They attract individuals who are inconsistent, unreliable, and emotionally unavailable. But when you build strong self-respect, those kinds of relationships begin to disappear from your life. Why? Why? Because you stop accepting behavior that does not align with your standards. The moment someone begins to treat you poorly, you recognize the red flag immediately. You no longer ignore the warning signs. You no longer create excuses for someone's lack of effort. Instead, you calmly step away. That is real power. Self-respect also changes how you view rejection. When someone chooses not to be with you, it no longer feels like the end of your world. It no longer feels like the end of your world. Instead, you see it as information. You understand that not every person is meant to be part of your journey. Some people enter your life temporarily to teach you lessons about boundaries, patience, and personal growth. And once that lesson is learned, there is no reason to chase them. Chasing someone who does not value you is one of the quickest ways to lose self-respect. Every unanswered message, every ignored effort, every moment where you lower your standards just to keep someone around chips away at your confidence. Eventually, you begin to question your own worth. But self-respect reminds you that love should never require you to abandon your dignity. A healthy relationship is not built on one person constantly proving their value. No, it is built on mutual appreciation. Two people choosing each other every day because they genuinely respect what the other brings into their life. When you develop strong self-respect, something remarkable happens inside you. You stop seeking validation from people who cannot give it. You stop measuring your worth through someone else's approval. Instead, you begin to trust your own value. And that trust becomes your greatest strength. You walk into every relationship knowing that you are bringing something meaningful to the table. Your loyalty, your care, your effort, your presence. And if someone cannot see that, You no longer take it personally. You simply recognize that they are not the right person to receive what you have to offer. That mindset protects your heart from unnecessary pain. It prevents you from investing your energy in people who only appreciate you temporarily. And most importantly, it allows you to remain open to the kind of love that truly deserves your presence. Because the right relationship will never ask you to sacrifice your self-respect. The right person will never make you feel like you are difficult to love. Instead, they will recognize your worth naturally. They will appreciate your presence without hesitation. And that is the power of self-respect. It doesn't just protect your heart. It guides you toward the kind of love that is built on dignity, appreciation, and genuine care. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the hardest truths people have to accept in life is that your life must continue, no matter who walks out of it. When a relationship ends with someone you care deeply about it can feel like the world has suddenly stopped. Your routines change. Your thoughts become heavy, and everything around you seems to remind you of what you lost. But the truth is, life never pauses for heartbreak. Time keeps moving forward, and the question becomes whether you move forward with it or remain trapped in a moment that is already past. Many people struggle with this because they tie their happiness to one person. They build dreams around that person, plans around that person, and expectations around that person. So when that person leaves, it feels like those dreams disappear as well. It feels like the future you imagine has been taken away. But what most people fail to realize is that your future was never meant to depend on one individual. Your life story is much bigger than one chapter. When someone leaves your life, it does not erase your purpose. It does not erase your potential. It does not erase the opportunities that still exist ahead of you. What it does is create a moment of transition, a moment where you are forced to rediscover yourself outside of the relationship. The danger comes when people refuse to move forward. They hold on to regret. They constantly replay the past, wondering what they could have done differently. They blame themselves for the outcome, believing that if they had just said something different or acted differently, the relationship might have survived. But regret is a heavy burden to carry, and it rarely brings peace. Every relationship involves two people, two sets of choices, two sets of actions. You cannot control another person's decisions, and you cannot force someone to value what they fail to appreciate. Holding on to regret keeps you stuck in a cycle of self-blame that prevents you from seeing the bigger picture. Sometimes relationships end not because you were not good enough, but because the connection was not meant to last forever. Some people enter your life for a season, not a lifetime. They arrive to teach you something about love, about patience, about boundaries, or about yourself. Once that lesson is learned, their role in your life naturally comes to an end. Accepting that truth can be difficult, but it is also incredibly freeing. When you stop viewing the end of a relationship as a failure, you begin to see it as a redirection. Life is guiding you away from something that was not aligned with your long-term happiness. Moving forward without regret means understanding that every experience has value. Even painful experiences shape your character and strengthen your wisdom. The heartbreak you feel today may become the lesson that protects you from a worse situation tomorrow. The disappointment you face today may push you to grow into a stronger, wiser version of yourself. Many people look back at failed relationships and only see the pain. They see the arguments, the disappointment, the emotional exhaustion. But if you look deeper, you will often find growth hidden inside those experiences. Maybe the relationship taught you to recognize red flags earlier. Maybe it taught you to communicate more clearly. Maybe it taught you that your standards should never be compromised for the sake of keeping someone around. Those lessons are valuable. They shape the way you approach future relationships. They help you make better choices, build stronger boundaries, and recognize healthier connections. Life continue without regret also means allowing yourself to embrace new opportunities.